Yes, well, let's start with this. There are certain things people value that I don't. That doesn't mean what you value is wrong. I don't value watches. To me, I don't need fashion on my wrist. I really don't. As a guy, I need a timepiece. It's my phone. I don't need to wear a watch. There's no value in it for me. But people spend a lot of money on watches. People spend a lot of money on boats. A lot of people spend a lot of money on. People love boats. And I always like, my favorite boat is when my friend owned one. My friend owns a boat, and I can go on a boat twice a summer. That's when I love boats. I don't want to own one. People, they value a lot of things. Some people value cars. Oh, I got to have a nice car. I don't really value cars. There are things, though, that I do value. Good toilet paper. Do not go cheap on that. Consistent transportation. Employees and coworkers who show up on time are things that matter to me. So in Pittsburgh, in the NFL, you'll notice that a lot of these franchises really value the star receiver. They pay the star receiver a lot of money. Pittsburgh, yesterday, $18.5 million per year for Antonio Brown for the next 3 years. Woo, a lot of money. A lot of money to one wide receiver. $1 million a Sunday for Antonio Brown. I would not pay him $1 million per Sunday. I would not pay a wide receiver $18.5 million per year. Let me give you the New England Patriot wide receivers. Here's what they make, and it should be noted, Danny Amendola is now going to take a massive pay cut. Yeah, they pay their entire receiving corps $19 million. The Steelers are paying one guy $18 million. Colin, you got to have Julio Jones. That's all I heard during the Super Bowl. How will New England cover Julio Jones? You can't cover Julio Jones. They built a 28-3 lead, mostly without Julio Jones. The running backs, who you didn't know before last year, they couldn't stop the running backs for Atlanta. Julio Jones. In week 3, Julio Jones had one catch for the Atlanta Falcons. They scored 45 points. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Twice this year, the Atlanta Falcons didn't have Julio Jones. He didn't play. They scored 42 and 41. Even when he was there and had 12 catches, they scored in the 40s. Julio Jones wasn't driving that team. You know what was driving that team this year? Improved offensive line and running back. Because they had Julio Jones the previous years and didn't do squat. When they got good running backs and shored up their offensive line, that's when Atlanta got good. Wasn't Julio Jones. If you want to spend a fortune on him, go ahead. I'm not. Here's teams that have recently gotten rid of superstar wide receivers. Calvin Johnson left the Lions. They got better. Philadelphia a few years ago let Deshaun Jackson go. And they went 10-6. Kansas City let Dwayne Bowe go. Remember that? They made the playoffs the next year. Seattle let Golden Tate go. They got back to the Super Bowl. In fact, Carolina lost Steve Smith and Kelvin Benjamin. And they finally went to the Super Bowl. I'm not paying wide receivers $18 million a year. The best wide receiving corps in the NFL is the New York Giants. I'd say Washington, the Houston Texans, and Denver are also loaded. How'd they do in the playoffs? Some teams right there didn't even make the playoffs. So there are certain things I'm not going to pay for. I can take wide receivers out of games. New England took Julio Jones largely out of the game. Antonio Brown against New England, taken out of the game. Rex Ryan, through his years, done a very good job, though he got fired, of taking wide receivers out of games. Nick Saban at Alabama. If you come in with a big star wide receiver, ask USC fans. Their best player was a wide receiver this year. Nick Saban took him completely out of the game in game 1. Okay? Quarterbacks, I'm going to spend a lot of money on quarterbacks. If you give me a world-class pass rusher, I'll spend some money. Wide receivers, boats, watches, they just don't do it for me. I understand. I always tell my kids the two things I'll pay for, education and experiences. That's what I always tell my kids. Two things Dad will pay for. I'll pay for education, because it doesn't matter if you get sick, doesn't matter if you get fired, even if you went down the wrong path, you'd be the smartest Coke dealer. I'll pay for education. I'll pay for education. Doesn't mean even if you make the world's worst choices, you'll be the smartest crook. And I'll pay for experiences. Because when I'm dead and I'm up in heaven or in a box and I don't know where you end up, wherever I'm at, That's what you'll remember. You won't remember the watch. You won't remember the car. You won't remember the boat. You'll remember the trip on the lake to Hawaii skiing with dad or mom. So it's just a matter of what you think is valuable in life. I think education and experiences matter. I'm not paying for stuff, things, material stuff. And wide receivers can be taken out of games. Indianapolis Colts have very good wide receivers. Mm-hmm. New York Giants, Washington, Houston Texans, very good wide receivers. New England pays $19 million for all of them. Just won another Super Bowl. Seattle won a Super Bowl without a star wide receiver playing that big that year. San Francisco got to a Super Bowl without a star wide receiver. You can do a lot in this league without a wide receiver. Can't do it without a good O-line. Can't do it without a good O-line.